Well, one thing my mother always taught me was to never air your dirty laundry in public. And so I'm going to try not to do that today. One of the great things about this house when we bought it was it had a really nice big open backyard. But one of the other nice things about it was that it had two old posts for the laundry line. And I was so excited when we saw that, and I was going to keep it just the way it was. But the problem was, I imagined that the people who put it in were much smaller than I am. Every time I would go through the yard, I would choke myself because the line was so low. So we ended up taking them out and we put in these new ones. Now, I'm 6 feet, so this is a good 7 feet high. And so by the time you put sheets on it or something, they don't drag on the ground. But my mom, of course, always had to do laundry outside. And for her, it was a chore. And of course, her mother and grandmother would do the same. And I've never had to do it. But I was kind of excited about having the opportunity here. And I thought the idea of looking out the window and seeing all the brightly colored fabric, especially on fabric days, would be really beautiful in the backyard. It would almost be like a Christo exhibit or something with the wrapped islands, but in more color. But I just like the idea of all the fabric blowing in the wind. Of course, it's great for sheets also. But there are things that I just didn't know about putting your laundry outside. And that is how nice and soft the pieces are once you get them off the line. So these just came out of the washing machine and they just were in there on casual, and they have a little tiny bit of fraying, but I'm not going to worry a lot about that. Um, every fabric frays to some extent, but I'm just going to go ahead and start hanging these up and let them dry. And because it's such a warm day, I think everything's going to dry pretty quickly today. And I have other fabric that's going to be coming out as well. So I'm going to go ahead and start hanging up laundry. But a couple points of interest. Uh, as things get more and more expensive, it's nice to know that doing your drying outside is still free. Um, it dries very quickly, especially on nice days like today. It saves on the utility bills, and believe me, the electric and the gas just keep going up. So that's a big bonus. It's everybody keeps looking for green resources, green renewable ways of doing things. And this is the old-fashioned greenest way to do it. I mean, it costs nothing once you have the line put up. But there are two other benefits. One of them, well, kind of three really. One of them is that the fabric or whatever smells really good when you get it finished. Number two, it's incredibly soft. You'd never believe how much difference it makes just to hang the clothes, the sheets, the fabric outside and letting it dry, how much softer it makes the garments when you're finished. And the third thing is, I've noticed with the fabric, is when I pull things out of the dryer, they're always wrinkled. It's so wrinkled that I have a hard time straightening it with my hand to get it flat. Sometimes you can pull it out just before it's completely dry and get it, or press it dry, but there's still a lot of ironing involved. When I hang dry these, they're almost so flat and so crisp that I don't have to press them at all. So I really like that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my volume and just go ahead and start hanging up fabric. Everything's dry. Everything's been dry, really. I know probably some people might be thinking, oh, what about the sun fading the fabric? And I did have the nice side facing out just for the video, for sure, because it's prettier. Nothing worse than watching fabric dry from the back side. But you certainly could have the fabric with the backside facing out, so it's less likely to get any fading on the actual color side. Another thing people might worry about are birds, and I even have a birdhouse right there on the end of the line. But as long as I've been doing it, I've never really had a problem. And if that happened, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I could just wash the fabric over again. The other thing I like to do, and I've done this even before I started hanging outside, was that when I have these little strings, I just let them loose in the yard and I let the birds make their nest with them. I'm sure someone will tell me for some reason that's not a good idea. But everything's not a good idea for somebody. The fabric is really nice and soft. You can see how straight it is. It's not all crinkled up. It doesn't need to be ironed, really. I mean, I would certainly iron it before I used it. But it's not a big ball of wrinkles to be able to put it into the into a fabric bin. These are a couple different collections. Some of these are like Civil War period, and some of the 1900s red and green quilts I have, especially the ones from Canada, have some of these printed florals in it. And so I just wanted to have a couple of these. This particular line I think is called Sparklers. But I wanted to have some of these because some of those, a couple of them need a little bit of a repair. It's amazing how close you can get even to a fabric that's 150 years old with a reproduction fabric. And I've talked about the old quilts before. I know some people don't like to make any changes to an old quilt. Anything I would do would be appliquing over a patch, which would be considered an undoable, something you could undo, which would be permissible in a restoration. What would not be permissible is something that can't be undone. Like lopping the quilt off into chunks and selling it in pieces. That would be something you couldn't undo. So yeah, there's a couple collections out here besides the William Morris. And even though I'm putting these together, it may not make sense, they're not the right color. It is the right collection. So I'm going to go ahead and continue folding these up. I mean, look at how nice that is. Didn't cost me anything. No electricity bill for that. It's funny because really, probably only after 20 or 30 minutes, some of those were dry already. And you'll find that some fabric companies actually recommend only line drying their fabric, like Liberty of London. If you've ever bought their Tanalon and seen their washing instructions, it will say line dry. that fabric is so fine. That's one of them. It comes so soft when you order it, you almost don't feel like you would need to wash it, but I still would wash just because I don't know who's handled it, where it's been stored. I mean, I think that the fabric's made in Italy, printed in England, or the designs are from England. Although some of that I think is printed in Japan now because they have some of their own exclusive designs for Liberty. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. You don't need you don't need to watch me folding laundry. But I thank you for joining me today while we talked about laundry. I would be curious how many of you also use the laundry line to dry your clothes. I'm sure many of you have been doing it a lot longer than I have, since I've only been doing it since I moved to this house. I'm sure also some of you have some really wonderful tips for doing it. I've even heard of people doing it in the winter, and when they take the fabric outside, of course it freezes, and then when they bring it back inside it defrosts, but they say it smells incredibly good. I've never done that. These are double pinks. But anyway, if you have any tips to share about doing laundry at any phase, I'm sure some people will say I'm crazy for doing it this way at all. But I'd be happy to hear them. We're all in the same community, so it's nice to share tips and tricks. And I'll see you next time. Until then, keep piecing it together.